You're listening to the High Conversion Health Marketer Podcast, the show that helps you craft memorable copy and messaging that connects, captivates, and converts. My name is Linda Malone, and my mission is to help you, the health and fitness marketer, attract your ideal customer with irresistible copy so you can grow your business. My guest today is Jake Kitchiner. Jake is the co-founder of ChannelCrawler, a SaaS tool to help you find YouTube channels and creators. So in this episode, you'll understand the difference between influencers and content creators. Jake breaks down the key distinctions between influencers who drive meaningful actions and creators who simply attract views without inspiring deeper engagement. You'll also learn about the power of niche expertise for conversions, highlighting how niche-focused influencers, for example, those who target pregnant women or long-distance runners, create a stronger audience engagement and higher conversions. And you'll also find out how to use YouTube as a long-term business tool. Let's get into it. All right, Jake, thank you so much for joining me today. I'm excited to have you on. I appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah, no, really happy to be here. Thanks for inviting me on.
Yeah, so I have some basic questions for you before we even jump into like your background. When people talk about fitness influencers, how do you define influencer? Is there like a number of followers that people have before they're considered an influencer? How do you define that?
Yeah, I think it's a great question because the discourse that we have within the creator economy and the influencer space, quote unquote, lots of people use the terms interchangeably. And so whilst I have a definition of it, I always think that when I'm speaking with customers or people in the creator economy, the most important thing is that when I say influencer, we've all got that same definition, or at least we understand what I mean when I'm saying influencer. And what I mean by that is someone who through their content has the capability to influence others to take an action. So that's what I think of as a fitness influencer per se. Because as a content creator, as a fitness content creator, I can make classes and I can get people to go through that process perhaps on YouTube. But being an influencer, whether it's that they've got 1,000 followers or 10,000, is really been influencing them to be able to do something more than just take that class, right? So it's somebody that could get you to buy a product, that could get you to start some kind of new diet because you believe in them and their message as a person, as a creator. So therefore you'd be influenced by them versus somebody who may have 100,000 subscribers. But when you go onto their channel and their content, you're just like, well, this is a good class. I'm going to do that, but I'm going to ignore everything else. So I'm just here to do the bar, yoga, running class, whatever it may be. So yeah, a bit of a long-winded answer there. But I always think that most important thing is just when you're talking about it, make sure that the other people that you're speaking with understand what you mean by it, because people can have very, very different pictures. And I've done some customer calls that you just think, what is going on? Then you say, like, what do you actually mean? Like, how can this be your viewpoint? And then they're like, oh, you mean something different, right? You just mean any content creator. Okay, never mind. Let's move on.
That's interesting because years ago, I remember about 2017, I was a co-host of a podcast for Bowflex. And that was when that term influencer started to be thrown around a little bit. And I remember the person who I was hosting the show with, he's this big triathlete guy. And I remember him making fun of people who are on Instagram, who are getting all these followers and all, like he and I were both in the same mind where we're both very serious about our fitness. We kind of do things by the book. He's done like 42 triathlons. And so you have these people coming on that they just look really good. I'm thinking of one particular woman in particular, and people were following her just because of the way she looked. There's been a couple like that. So it sounds like influencer doesn't necessarily mean they really know, specifically what they're doing. I mean, I'm just saying there are some that do and some that don't. I mean, would you agree with that? Or do you think now it's gotten, because that was, like I said, 2017. Has that changed where influencers really have to know more than what they did back then? Or is it really just the charisma and their personalities that draw people in?
Well, I think you've used a really great example there, right? And it depends on what the goal is of that creator, because people that draw people in by looks and don't really have much affinity other than that first click of subscribe, and maybe they see the occasional post by them. they're not going to have much influence. They're not going to get them to do much. And so, KPIs that we look at in the creator economy, such as engagement rate, how you're able to generate clicks and views on certain things, are just not going to be there, right? And so, yeah, I don't think creating a profile like that, where aesthetically it looks good but you can't do anything, really holds much value. And it's really interesting what you say about how that language has changed, because there's been a recent upsurge in, user-generated content. So perhaps fitness influencers using a product that people might be interested in, or their audience might. But I always thought as user-generated content is like someone random off the street generates it, puts it out there and says, oh my God, this is amazing, right? But actually now it's changed that you can have paid user-generated content. So I had, it's always changing in the creator economy as to what the terms are and what they mean. But yeah, I totally agree with you. If that person has brought people in mostly based on looks, like that doesn't drive conversions, doesn't get people to actually take an action. And same as you, like I'm really into my fitness. Ultra marathons are my thing. I do at least one each year. And when it comes to like a Pilates class or things like that, I can take any single one online and that's totally fine. But I want to know the ones that really, really understand like how the body works and why I'm feeling pains in certain areas. And then if you tell me to do something, I'm going to go and do it, because that's what makes me buy all of those products, right? So yeah, sure. I watch different ones for variations, but there's people who really seem to know their stuff based on like a runner's view. This is how your body's going to be reacting to you pounding the pavement, pounding up those hills. Therefore, these are the actions and you should take and products you should buy. And so, definitely changes based on the person.
Yeah, I just remember thinking, like so much of the writing I used to do I wrote for a lot of fitness magazines, and I would interview, like, if you didn't have a PhD, I really didn't want to talk to you, but I interviewed the top people in the fitness world. So I got all the science behind it and everything. So I had this ongoing feud with a friend of mine who's really into CrossFit, which I'm a certified strength and conditioning specialist, so CSCS, and that all the principles of CrossFit. And I know there's some good ones and there's some bad ones, but it goes against everything that I've learned my whole life. And so, we always have it out. Like he's arguing with me and I'm like, it doesn't make sense to do Olympic lifts for timing. It doesn't, but yeah, one of the questions I was going to ask you is how you decided to focus in on the fitness niche. So it's because you're a runner and you do triathlons too?
Yeah, ultra marathons. So
okay.
Yeah, it's one of those funny things that people, like some people will be like, oh, it'd be great doing a triathlon. I'm like, my swimming is horrendous. Like I look like I'm drowning. So triathlon is on the goal list. But I think the reason that we have so many customers and we focus on that as a niche to work within and make sure it creates a good product for is because fitness is one of the things that really started the creator economy, right? So fitness influencers, people doing lifestyle kind of thing, really have been the initial influencers, the people that, aside from entertainment, got on the platform and got started making things happen. They built audiences. They've been the real like e-commerce drivers of those platforms and probably some of the inspiration for TikTok Shop there. And so it doesn't make any sense for us as a business to not think about how do we serve like the YouTube influencer market, people finding them and being able to work with them. And a lot of the times when we do, demos or talks or things like that, we talk about fitness because it's something that everybody can relate to. You don't necessarily have to be a fitness enthusiast to understand the importance of it and what it means and what it does and different types of it. And so it's a universal language that we all speak, but it's one that creators have been pushing out and doing so well with for a long time. Mm-hmm. And I think, I also have to be honest about biases. I actually really enjoy the content as well. Like I like to see the classes. I like to learn more about the body, about fitness and, what people are doing and also the stories that people have as well. So there is that kind of, we're all a bit biased by our own personal experience and things we like, right?
I know. But there's people who, like when I was talking about, these influencers who don't seem to have like the background. I mean, it would just be within those of us who were really science-based with our approach would just really annoy us. And they were the ones getting all the attention. It's like, what is happening? And it seems like YouTube is kind of the natural platform for fitness because it's visual, it's video. So is that how you came up with the idea for ChannelCrawler? I mean, how did that kind of come to be?
So the initial part of ChannelCrawler was actually my co-founder built it because he's looking for other YouTubers to partner with for content and felt others would. And so he would go to events where creators were and talk to them about different things. And like, there was no place that they could find each other and start talking to each other. And so at those events, you would have fitness influencers. He was all about YouTube and YouTube growth and just the space of YouTube itself. But he found himself speaking to a lot of lifestyle, a lot of fitness creators, and was like, right, okay, well, if I can get this platform together, put all of these people onto it and make it so, you know, you just go on and you discover these YouTube pages with fitness and lifestyle being the main focus, that's just going to allow people to meet, talk to each other, and then start creating content from there. And from that, we've definitely moved and pivoted away from the fact that it's for creators to find each other, because we just found so many other people started using the tool. But still, we think about, well, who does YouTube suit mostly as a business entity? And that tends to be those fitness and influencer people, because there's so much that you can do on it. Like, you can build a whole audience and business through YouTube. I'd always recommend, you know, doing it through other platforms as well, so your audience isn't held to ransom by an algorithm or one place. But yeah, like, YouTube is the perfect place to go and do those things. And as a result, like, customers or prospects reach out to us and say, this is of interest to us. We want to find fitness influencers to work with. How can we do it? And we're like, great, that's our job. Super easy.
So your ideal customer then is somebody who's looking for a fitness influencer to get the word out about their product? Is that like,
yeah, pretty
B2B brands?
Our most common use case is affiliate and influencer managers or marketing agencies that want to work with somebody to promote a product or service that they have. That might be a new product that they're launching. It might be a continuation of another, but that's the main reason they would come. So they would come onto there, and then they would, you know, find the country, number of subscribers, view count, etc., whatever they need in that fitness space, and they can go even further by niche as well. So that's yoga, bar, running, you know, swimming, whatever it may be, and then just find the people and start reaching out to them and say, hey, like, you know, are you interested in working with us on that product? And it's super simple. Go onto it, click it, find it, email them, happy days. So yeah, we just get a lot of people that self-sign up and go through that process. And the whole idea is, how can we make it as easy as possible to find fitness influencers?
You kind of remind me of a business platform called Lucia. Have you heard of Lucia?
No.
Lucia. I signed up for, in fact, I think I still have a subscription. It's for finding just any kind of business. Because I was on ChannelCrawler and I was looking around, and there's a lot of it that's kind of similar, where you can choose the industry, the market. And I had a paid subscription, so I was able to go into Lucia way deeper. But I was using it like to find people on LinkedIn, because it would pop up their LinkedIn profile. So it almost sounds kind of like that. Does that sound like, because I just was trying to free things. So yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely, like, because there's different use cases as well. Like, people want to sell to creators, so they come in and they want to find a whole load of emails. And so, you know, people say, is it a bit like Apollo, Zoom Info, Lucia as well? Like, you know, a place where you can come just as a database, find all the people of interest, and then reach out to them. So yeah, it would be exactly like that.
So what about the people who maybe want to be sponsored? So say I'm a big fitness influencer, but what would be the criteria that someone would be looking for someone like me? Like, I don't have the fitness platform anymore that I did, but is there somewhere where you'd say, well, once you get to this certain number of followers, or you know, what is it that you have to kind of do before you can be considered as like, okay, this people will be looking for you to sponsor you?
Yeah, absolutely. So fitness as a category, if we step back, can be quite generic, right? So if I say, what does fitness mean to one person, they might think of running, athletics. Whereas actually, when I've always thought of fitness as like my football fitness, because that's what I played, you know, up until about the age of 30. And so fitness can be quite wide and varying. And so one of the key things is thinking about who can actually talk to the audience of your ideal customer, like that end customer. And so previously, like, I would say up until probably like 2 years ago, the thing is, the thought process has been, the bigger you are as a creator, i.e. the more following that you have, therefore you must be the best person to activate with, and I'll spend as much money as possible on as bigger influence as possible. But the challenge with that, and while we're seeing that kind of being rolled back a bit, is if you talk to so many people all in one big audience, you almost don't speak to any at all. And a good example might be like Diary of a CEO. It's one of the most popular podcasts in the UK, and I think it's starting to become like internationally popular as well. People are dipping in and out of that based on who the guest is. Like Joe Rogan, you might have listened to the Donald Trump one, but never listened to any others. So when they promote a product, are they really selling it to that audience? Maybe not. So really what you're trying to do is get like some brand awareness for your particular one, for an audience that might listen to Joe Rogan or Diary of a CEO. But when it comes to like a fitness influencer, the things that people are looking for a real impact is can you talk to an audience, right? So we talked about the aesthetically pleasing influencer that perhaps they do yoga or bar. I'm going to use those as examples. Mostly I'm talking about those. I've actually started doing yoga recently. So getting into that. That's quite a generic thing. So this is good for yoga. Okay, awesome. What about someone who does their yoga specifically for either pregnant women or somebody that actually like is then doing the recovery of pregnancy, because that takes a big toll on the body. Not many people talk about it. Something I've only learned about like recently from friends. Imagine being able to talk to that audience specifically, people who are watching that type of content and go, wow, this is going to be really good for me, because they speak and they talk to that audience and this is their bit of expertise. This is their niche. And so if you want to get sponsored, there will be products and brands that will go, once you've got to 10,000 followers, or once you're getting 1,000 views a video, they'll use a tool like ours and they'll reach out to people at mass and say, do you want to promote this? And it's generally, if somebody buys it based on your link, they'll pay you. But if you want to get actually sponsored and you want to get paid by brands, if you've got some sort of niche or expertise, and just like you were talking about, right, you want to hear the scientists, the people that really know their stuff, you connect through via something like those niches that we spoke about, or someone like me who, I watch running influencers as well. Like, how are they training? What are they doing? Because they're very specific to running and running long distances as well. Not interested in sprinters. You have to run more than 13 miles, otherwise you can't help me. Yeah. And so they're the people now, especially when they've got smaller audiences too, where budget doesn't have to be as high, and that audience is like super engaged because they haven't just popped across your video one time. They're generally a more like involved audience. That means that they're going to be so many more conversions from the products that you said and talk about, and people are going to be like, this is authentic. You're a person that talks about this all the time, and this product fits in with that. Whereas generic influencer, aesthetically pleasing, maybe bigger following, it's like, oh, well, you've got a fitness product. They paid you to do that. That's cool. Maybe I know what it is. Maybe I'll try it another time. That's quite long-winded, but I think that real super niche is the really important part, where you speak to an audience and get them impassioned about doing something. And that's that piece that you said about scientific is like, yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah, because I used to run a course, and I had for about 5 years for women over 50, fitness for women over 50, because I'm in that group, and people I could relate to what I knew what I was talking about because I was in it, and other people were listening to me, and I built up a list really fast. And part of me is like, oh, should I have stayed with it? It was just so much work. It was so much work to keep it going. And I had a membership, and the churn rate was insane. And it was just, and I'm told, hey, that's just the way it is. And it just got to be overwhelming, which is why I kind of put it aside. But that I could see what you're saying would make sense, because women came to me because they knew I was in it, and I would make light of it because it just, when you go through something hard, or you just feel like you're in a tough spot, I like lightening things up with a little humor. And so I'd kind of make fun of where we were at, and it resonated, it really resonated. And in fact, some people were really upset with me when I stopped it. But it just got, the bottom line, just kind of a side note, is that I was attracting women, a lot of them who were on like fixed incomes, and they were older, because as I got older and they got older, their income situation changed, and they didn't want to put money out for it anymore. And so I kept seeing people falling off, and I was like, okay, I didn't anticipate that. So that was why I just kind of bailed on it. But it's also why I want to talk, when in my podcast is really why I talk about fitness and health, because that's what I know. But I guess the other question, so how do you compare, like, when you think of something like Instagram, is that like a big competitor of yours? Because I know that's also a big fitness influencer platform, right? It's different though.
Yeah, it depends. It depends on what the brand's goal is and what they're trying to do. And the two simplest ways to think about that is you're going for brand awareness or you're going for conversions. And then also the products that you've got as well, and also the budget. So YouTube is more expensive to advertise on than Instagram or TikTok, just in part because of the length of video means that it has a higher cost of producing that video and higher effort to it. But generally, it is more expensive to do it on YouTube. There are some companies that would not use us because they prefer to activate via Instagram and TikTok. And there's others that would use YouTube because they see it as a high converting place to convert. And so there's a lot of things that go into it, but I would say, what are your goals? Like brand awareness, Instagram is really good for, but there's been a report recently that engagement rates, i.e. the number of people that like and comment, is more than halved over the last 4 years. People engage with that platform differently. It becomes quite saturated. TikTok, you can obviously use TikTok Shop, which is by far the best integration in terms of getting somebody to buy your product. So that has a really good conversion piece there that you can do if somebody's interested in that product, and the algorithm there is amazing.
Yeah.
But if you really want to get that story of your product in action, like running trainers is, I've bought some based on the fact that someone's done a really good time in one of the marathons, and I'm like, oh, I want to do that. Actually, this is a really good product. This is going to help me. Tends to be able to build more of a story and get more brand engagement from YouTube. And so really depends on what your goal is, what your budget is as well. And I don't see them as like a competitor. Like you can use our tool to find YouTubers who are on Instagram and TikTok, and most of them are anyway. And there's just other tools that serve Instagram and TikTok, and we don't. And actually there's a bit of a marketing play for us in that, being really honest, is like we're known as a place to find YouTubers. You want to work with a YouTuber, come to us. If you want to work with, somebody that's more Instagram or TikTok, or just search by that, there's other places for you. And yes, that shuts off a bit of the market to us. But talking to I guess the logic that I go with those fitness influencers, where they go down into a niche, like you had yours, like women over 50, we're doing that same piece where we're saying we're for YouTube. We know that means that some aren't there, but for others, this is the perfect place for you because we have more YouTubers, we have more data on them, we have better search functionality, and we have more contact details. So if you want to work with YouTubers, this is the place.
Now, once an ad is up on a video, how long is it? I mean, I guess that depends on the advertiser, like how much they want to pay. Like, is it up for a certain amount of time and then it's down, or how does it work? I guess I'm asking, how does it differ from, like, I'm familiar with a little bit with Facebook ads and that kind of thing. How does it differ from the other types of ads?
Yeah. So with all social platforms, you can pay to have an ad up and for it to reach an audience, and it will stay up as long as you're still paying for ads to be presented in front of people. The real difference is that when you sponsor content of a creator specifically, if you think about the way that YouTube works versus other platforms, this is actually a big selling point of YouTube that I probably should have brought up a moment ago. But YouTube is around forever, right? Mm-hmm. I found recently an 8-year-old video of how to pack a specific type of bag, and they got the person had 2,000 subscribers. This had 97,000 views, and when I typed it in, it was the first result on Google. You had one result was here's all the 4 different videos, and I was like, that looks like the right one for me. And I was like, wow. And so if you're doing a sponsorship of a YouTube video, part of that piece is that if it's a good piece of content that people are trying to find and come back to, your advert is around forever. And we have another use case that we started to dabble into a little bit recently, is one of cryptocurrency. And a customer came to us and said, we did affiliate marketing 2 years ago. Didn't go very well, but we've got one influencer that is still generating views for us because their channel 10x'd in size. And now people still go back to that video of how to do something. So we figure we need to find more of them. And I was like, wow, that's amazing. Cool. You can use our platform, obviously. But that's the beauty of YouTube. You sponsor some content, and that advert and that video is around for ages. Bearing in mind with fitness influencers as well, they're showing you how to do something, or they're doing classes on different movements with the body. And so any product that comes into that is going to be sustained as an advert for a longer period of time. And I think that's the bit that is just the magic of YouTube, and why we choose that, and also LinkedIn, because LinkedIn is quite where our audience are, but YouTube is the place that we can get someone to do a product walkthrough of what we do and what we sell, and it's around forever. So it's like, even if it doesn't take off at that time in particular, it might have a viral moment later on, and then so it's a great place to be on.
Yeah, see, that was what I was wondering is, once the ad is on the video, it's on there. So it's not like you take it down off of that video. That's interesting. So yeah, and it seems like YouTube it's just out there. Like I used to have a fitness channel for women over 50, and it's still up there, but I have a copywriting channel, which is what I work on now with podcasts and stuff. But I still get views on that. It's up there, and I look at it and it's like, this has been, and of course it's all the ab exercises. Those are the ones everyone wants. How can I get flat abs? Somebody actually was my podcast coach that I'm working with, and he brought up a really good point, which I'd never thought of. He surveyed his podcast listeners, and because the big debate is, do you have your podcast on audio or also YouTube? And he found out, and I never thought about this, but it makes so much sense. YouTube is where people go for how-to. It's a lot of beginners. It's like maybe how to start running, how to, what are, I mean, I guess you call them trainers, and the East Coast, we call them sneakers, and the West Coast, we call them tennis, which I don't know why, because we don't play tennis with them. But anyway, they're shoes that you wear when you're running. So people are looking for the basics, because he told us, if you're doing like a podcast like this, for example, the how-to is what people are going to be looking for. They're not, if you want to do something more advanced, he said, then keep it with the audio. But I mean, do you agree with that? Because it sounds like that's also something that would be good to know, when you're posting video.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you think of YouTube and how it fits into a business, right? So the fitness creators will see themselves as a business. They've got to generate revenue and income, and they get a little bit from adverts. So if an advert is played on their YouTube channel, it's like 55% of the revenue from that will go to the creator, and then 45% to YouTube. But that's nothing really. Like if you've got a few thousand views, you're going to get barely any dollars back on that. So it's, how do you use YouTube as a business? Well, you've got to get people interested in you and interested in your content. It's free, and they can come onto it. Now, if you imagine, if you start like a hard expert level, you haven't got anybody the chance to come and engage with your content, try a class, see if they like you, see if you know what you're talking about at all. And so the way that I see the best businesses built in like the fitness influencer space is it's three stages. So number one is your free YouTube content. Come in. In your persona, I'd be like, I do fitness for women over 50. These are the types of classes that we do. Here's my ab workout. This is a basic one, 10, 15 minutes that will help. And see my other classes that, I've got on there to do some other variations of that. Then what I do is the second level is, as people want to get a little bit more into it, then perhaps you've got a subscription to an app. So like Tribe is a company of ours. It's fitness. It's an app for fitness creators. They can pull their different classes on there, all different levels, and really like give a lot more information and host a lot more content in there in a more structured way than YouTube allows. And that's like $7.99. So really, really easy, low cost, come to it and you've got a subscription. But then what you can also do is then, once you've gone even past that, because as a content creator, as somebody who's got, this following and this real real background in the sense of being an expert, you've then got this high ticket offer that you can say, right, I'm going to be doing a workshop for 6 women. It's going to be like this. We're going to do this. It's going to be 2 hours. We're going to go through all of these things. We're going to talk about things. We're going to get some great exercise. And it's really going to open up my mind. And I've only got 6 places, so it's exclusivity. And it's like £500 or so, right? And immediately in 2 hours, you've made like £3,000, $3,000 because people have gently grown with you. They've gone, YouTube, well, how do I start? How do I get into it? Oh, this person knows what it's like to be, my age and want to work out in this. Awesome. I'm going to join their app. I'm seeing their content every day. Remember, it's always being shown to them. They're doing it every single day there. And then suddenly it's like, now I'm willing to do it. And the other bit that's actually quite nice about this as a business model as well is all the time people are getting asked for like free stuff, like free advice, And if you do get that, you can say, cool, I've got all of these classes here you can go and do for free anytime. Or the app is like super low cost, that people have got fixed incomes, haven't got a huge place, that they can go and do that £500 high ticket offer. They can still get some value out of it, and you can still help more people, because I think sometimes that's missed within it. Like fitness influencers do it because they actually want to help people and want to make people feel better. But you've got that really big thing that you're really trying to gear people towards, that all the rest of your content and all the rest of your, whether it's a newsletter or whatever it may be, all gears up to that high ticket offer. That's the one that you're really trying to sell. Right. All of this time, think about how long people are engaged in your marketing funnel when they're doing all of those classes and reading all your newsletters and doing those things that they've subscribed to. So yeah, and I say that as somebody who's seen it, who's mapped that out with people where they've been successful, and also who's somebody who's bought through that funnel as well.
Yeah. Well, there was one that's I know has been around forever. You probably heard of Fitness Blender.
Yeah.
They've been around, like when back again, 2017, 2016, I think they were just starting. They really took off, I think, during COVID, because it's all kinds of in-home, it's a husband and wife team, and they seem very likable, but tons of free stuff. I was on there recently, but I can't remember now. I was just looking for something in specific, but their site, it looks like it's really just blown up. But it takes time too. I mean, it's not just something that's going to happen like overnight, And so, yeah, you have to have patience. But
absolutely. You've got to take time to see what people think to your content and what really aligns with them. Like the comments are always a great place for that. People might say, love this class, or can you do a bit of this? Or you can ask people to comment on what they want. And then the other part is people talk about like the algorithm, right? But YouTube's algorithm, and experts with way more experience say this as well, is that they want you to watch a video, they want you to stay on YouTube and continue watching more videos. So if they present to you a video that you like and you stay with, happy days. If a content creator brings people, like fitness people, and they do that full class, it's like, oh, actually, okay, I'm going to show that to more people now. And if those people then do it and they go all the whole way through, YouTube thinks, well, I can rely on this channel's content. That's the way this algorithm works. So cool, people are watching it the whole way through. But they also need to know that you're going to be doing it constantly, right? And at like a regular interval. So it doesn't have to be every day or every couple of days, but a class a week that's coming out that people can expect and people can come back to your channel for, and have that reliability and consistency. Because also that audience member needs some time to become acquainted to you and engage with you, right? Like we don't go on the first date and then say, oh, let's get married. You're like, no, I really enjoyed this first date. Now let's go on second, third, whatever it may be. Sometimes it's a terrible date. You gotta get out there. We take time to build that relationship. And so that you have to create enough content for people to really become acquainted with you and to really have that feel that they can engage with you even though they've never met you. And video is a great place to do that. And the longer that you have with that audience member, the more affinity they're going to gain with you. And that's why YouTube just allows you to do that over a longer period of time as well.
Yeah. And that's interesting because as you're talking, I'm thinking like I've worked with a number of business coaches. And like I said, my podcast coach is new to me. And every single person I've ever paid to coach me on something is because I've received their free stuff. I listen to their videos and it's like, okay. Cause I think people now are not, they don't trust people like they used to either. So I think it's even, more important. But this has been such a great conversation. Where can people find out more about you and find out more about ChannelCrawler?
So LinkedIn, please do connect with me. And if you mention this podcast, you've got any questions off the back of it, more than happy to get back to you, have a chat and walk through it. So that's the best place to find me. You find me better there than on my emails, which is a horrendous inbox. And then ChannelCrawler is just channelcrawler.com. Specifically finding YouTube influencers or creators that you might want to work with, given the language we had earlier. Really important to say whether it's influencer or creator, but you can find them all there.
Awesome. And we'll keep all those links in the show notes. So thank you so much, Jake. I really appreciate this.
Awesome. Thanks so much for having me.